Have you ever really stopped to think about that blank document on your screen? It looks simple, but it's way more than just a blank space. It's actually the end result of a massive revolution, one that completely redefined how we create, edit, and share our ideas. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the software that changed writing forever, the word processor.
Believe it or not, before you could just pop open a laptop and start typing, getting words onto a page was a much more, permanent and honestly, frustrating process. The clean, editable page we totally take for granted today has its roots in solving a very old, very mechanical problem. And that problem, the main villain in our story, was the typewriter. For decades, it was the only game in town, but man, it came with some serious baggage.
I mean, think about it. With a typewriter, every single typo was a crisis. Do you try to fix it with some messy correction fluid? Or do you have to start the entire page all over again? There was no undo button in real life. But word processing, it promised something that sounded like magic, the ability to change anything, anytime, without having to retype the whole document. This was a huge, monumental shift toward freedom and flexibility.
And that shift wasn't just a small change. It led to a full-blown revolution, one that was powered by some truly pioneering software that brought the power of the digital word to pretty much everyone. This whole revolution, it really unfolded over decades. It started with programs like WordStar, which was one of the first to give personal computer users a whole suite of writing tools. Then came WordPerfect, which absolutely dominated the late 80s. Of course, with the rise of Windows, Microsoft Word took over and became the new king. And more recently, Google Docs changed the game completely by moving everything into the cloud. This wasn't just about technology getting better, it was a fundamental change in how we think about writing, from a solo activity to a truly collaborative one.
Okay, so to really understand the DNA of all modern writing software, we're going to do a little bit of digital archaeology. We're going to use MS Word 2010 not as a how-to guide, but as a perfect time capsule to dissect the core pieces that are now standard in pretty much every word processor out there.
And here it is. I know, at first glance, it might look a little crowded, but I want you to think of this as a complete digital workshop. Every single button, every menu, every little icon is a specialized tool, all designed to give you, the writer, total control over your work, from that messy first draft all the way to the final polished piece.
Now, a really crucial innovation from this era was the ribbon. You see, before this, so many powerful features were buried deep inside these complicated, confusing drop-down menus. The whole point of the ribbon was to bring all those amazing tools out into the open, to make them visible and easy to find right when you need them.
And this shows the logic perfectly. The ribbon is organized into these tabs, and inside each tab, into logical groups. So, for example, you've got the font group for changing how your text looks, and right next to it, the paragraph group for things like alignment and spacing. Everything is sorted by what you're trying to do, which just streamlines the whole process. Of course, it's not all about the big, flashy features. Let's talk about two of the unsung heroes of the interface. The ruler, which is absolutely essential for setting your margins and getting your text lined up with precision, and the status bar, way down at the bottom. That little guy gives you vital info at a glance, like what page you're on and, maybe most importantly, your word count. And for max efficiency, you've got the quick access toolbar. This little area right here is all about making the software work for you. It comes preloaded with the big ones, save, undo, and redo, but you can add any command you use all the time, putting your personal go-to tools just one single click away. But here's where things get really cool. The revolution wasn't just about making it easier to type and edit words. It was about totally transforming the document itself, from a simple page of text into a dynamic multimedia canvas. This is where your document really comes to life. The Insert tab is basically your gateway to making things visual. You can drop in photos, throw in some clip art, build diagrams with different shapes, or even visualize your data by embedding a chart right there next to your text. You know, a great document isn't just what you say, it's also about how you present it. The Page Layout tab gives you total control over that professional look and feel. This is where you can fine-tune your margins, switch between portrait and landscape, and even apply document-wide themes to make sure your design is consistent. Now, for the really serious long-form stuff, the References tab is an absolute lifesaver. This is where you find the heavy-duty tools for academic and professional writing. We're talking about automatically generating a table of contents, managing all your citations and bibliographies, and adding footnotes without breaking a sweat. And finally, before you hit that send button, you've got the Review tab, which is, no joke, a writer's best friend. This is your quality control center. It's got the essential spelling and grammar checker, a thesaurus for when you're looking for that perfect word, and of course, the all-important word count tool to make sure you've hit your target. So, after that deep dive, let's zoom back out and really look at the big picture. What's the lasting impact of all these features that were pioneered in software like Microsoft Word? Well, to put it simply, these features became the actual DNA of modern digital writing. The concepts we just walked through, that visual ribbon, embedding media, powerful proofing tools, they are now the universal standard. You'll find them in pretty much every writing app on every platform, including all the cloud-based tools we use today. So let's just quickly recap the big takeaways. First, the word processor solved the absolute nightmare of the typewriter's inflexibility. It made incredibly powerful tools easy to find and use with a visual interface. It transformed documents from just plain text into these rich media canvases. And ultimately, it laid the entire groundwork for the collaborative platforms that so many of us rely on every single day.
You know, in the end, this technology did way more than just change how we type. It gave us this incredible, unprecedented power to refine our own thinking, to play around with our words, and to communicate our ideas more creatively and effectively than was ever possible before. But that brings us to one final, really big question for today. The word processor gave us the power to edit our work endlessly. Now, as artificial intelligence is starting to actually write for us, what do you think the next great revolution in writing is going to be?